This time I'm going to call the meeting to order. Could I please have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Move.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. Next, we have could I have a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting minutes for April 22nd, 2021?
Move.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And that passes as well. Tonight, due to the number of patron comments that we have, I'd like to entertain a motion to make an adjustment to the agenda. Anyone like to?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I make a motion to move business items 8.01 through 8.12, consent agenda items to 9.01 to 9.03 before 6.01 patron comments.
Move. Good.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes. That takes us to 8.01. We will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So move.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Please say no. All right, that passes. That takes us to bringing up Mr. Chris Friend. I have a motion to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts, $7,500 to $150,000 as submitted.
Move. Again.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Evening, everyone. We have one facilities related item on the agenda for approval tonight that's related to the 2017 bond issue. It is a bathroom remodel for a staff restroom in the 400 wing of Eureka High School. That's in the E wing of campus. So it's for John Calicut Construction for the amount of $9,426.
Questions for Mr. Friend tonight? All right, so the motion is to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts, $7,500 to $150,000 as submitted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. Thank you, Mr. Friend. And next we have an information piece. I'd like to welcome Dr. Carmen Harris from Special School District to come up and talk to us about supports and services in partner districts. Welcome.
For having me this evening. So this is a presentation that we're providing to our partner districts to talk a little bit more about the special education supports and services that we offer throughout the county. Purpose is to talk a little bit about the special education categories, process, our models and services of how we provide special education, some checks and balances that we have at both the district and at the county level, and then strengthening our partnership between Special School District and Rockwood. Our special education disability categories are 14 according to our Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. They range from autism, intellectual disability, specific learning disabilities, and visual impairments. In order for a student to receive special education services, their IEP team must determine that a child is eligible for one of these areas. In order to be eligible, we have a short special education process that starts with interventions, and those interventions are provided for our students who are struggling in specific areas and identified as needing additional supports. Next, there's a referral process that can come from either the school or from our families. Then an identification process, which involves a special education evaluation, ultimately leading to a potential eligibility that is made as a group to determine which of those 14 areas a student may be eligible for. If found eligible, we develop an individualized education plan, we implement that plan, and then there may be additional evaluations and reevaluations to support that student during the time they have that particular document. There are 3 service delivery models that are primarily utilized throughout the county. First is class within a class or co-taught classroom. We also use that language as a push-in service, so special education services that are happening in the general education setting. We have resource classroom, or also known as itinerant services, and those are specialized instruction that is provided in the special education setting. Our students who participate in that setting are typically inside the regular class more than 40% of the time. The special education self-contained classroom, or specialized classroom, is where students are also receiving special education services in the SPED setting, and typically those students are receiving that service and they're inside the regular education classroom less than 40% of the time. We also have related services, and these are services that will support our students in accessing their special education. These services can range from health, music therapy, nutrition, social work, and speech therapy. There are also supplementary aids and services. These aids and services are provided in the regular education classes, other education-related settings, and in extracurricular and non-academic settings to enable children with disabilities to be educated with non-disabled children to the maximum extent appropriate. That can include adult support, health services, assistive technology, and speech therapy. In order to implement these particular services, we have some checks and balances, some planning and supports, and a system to be able to support all students and their needs. The checks and balances systems happen at both the building and the district level. At the building level, we're really talking about our general and special education teachers, our school counselors, and our building administrators, both general and special. We're ensuring that access to the appropriate curriculum. We're having that tiered intervention or multi-tiered systems of support for all students. We're ensuring that everyone is participating in those special education process meetings like evaluations and IEPs. Ensuring that the implementation of that IEP is occurring so that our students have faith and provision of that. And ensuring effective collection and sharing of key data measures at the building level, so that progress monitoring that takes place in both the general and special education setting. We look at our SSD staff allocation and who we need to be able to provide these services, the space that's needed in the building to provide that, and what type of professional development may be needed for our special educators to implement the curriculum in their partner district. At the district level, this may look very similar. Our SSD area coordinators or special education administrators and myself will partner with our district liaisons as well as SSD district leadership team to continue to look at that appropriate curriculum, the supports that are needed for that MTSS, shared leadership of the special education process, ensuring that we have appropriate access to that data, supporting the needs of our staff in terms of how many we need, who's needed, and what model of support we'll provide, the allocation for our space, and then also looking at technology and transportation needs. With our focus planning that we're having with our partner districts, there are several opportunities of collaboration, one of those being at the superintendent level. So our superintendent collaboration happens through roundtable and individual meetings. There are quarterly check-ins, quarterly updates with overall initiatives and trends. We have an annual budget meeting, which Dr. Miles had participated in. We have the governing council, and we also have our parent advisory council. Partner district partnership also includes those individual meetings that we have with our liaisons at the partner district, myself and the special education administrators, and the relationship that we have at both the district and building level with our admin, myself participating in district level meetings, and then of course our budget planning. Through our partnership, we're also looking at some specific supports in the areas of teaching and learning, technology, and our parent resources. In teaching and learning, we have effective practice specialists in a variety of areas to support our students with autism, speech and language needs, social, emotional, behavioral, etc. We have professional development, instructional resources, tiered models of support, which we continue to collaborate with our partner districts to create, and then instructional coaching, which next year we will have 2 special education instructional coaches assigned to the Rockwood School District. Our technology support ensures that we have that in our classrooms. Our teachers and paraprofessionals are provided with such supports. Technology for our students, hotspots as needed, and technical supports for our families and staff. Our parent resources are also available through our PETA department, our Parent Education and Diversity Awareness Department, which provides a variety of different trainings and workshops and support for our families, as well as our Parent Advisory Council. So what do we need from partner districts? We're really asking to be at the table during those initial plannings when we have a key initiative that's taking place. Opportunities to update, like I am this evening, to the Board of Education on typical topics, special education related. Opportunities to provide information during presentations on key initiatives. Increasing our accessibility for our students to access the general education core environment and academic courses. To reduce the number of suspensions that we have with our students with special needs, and to also ensure we have that general education representation at IEP meetings because their voice is so critical to the support of our students. In terms of next steps in our continued focus and collaboration is really looking at that multi-tiered system of support in both the academic and the social emotional learning areas, creating a plan that can increase the inclusion of our students into the general education environment, a plan that would allow for our staff to support both special education needs and interventions for students without IEPs. Do you happen to have any questions for me?
Mr. Harris, I have two quick ones.
Sure.
Approximately how many students does SSD serve in the Rockwood School District?
Close to 3,000.
I'm sorry?
Close to 3,000.
Okay. Does that include early childhood also?
It does not.
That's their own separate entity, right?
School age K through 12.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. You went back on the steps, the process steps, step one. Those interventions, are those classroom interventions, tier one interventions? Are they with special ed teachers? Can you define that a little more?
Sure. It's one of the areas that we're continuing to focus on is that multi-tiered systems of support to ensure that it is a general and special education initiative. So it could be something that's happening in the classroom. It could be something that's happening with a special education individual like a speech language pathologist. So it could be a collaborative effort in both tier one and tier two.
That's before any references and recommendations are made. And then my
Absolutely.
second question is the role of the instructional coach that you're talking about. Can you define that role and tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So this is a particular position that has been supporting the districts, but now we have specific staff allocated to our district. So these two individuals will be working with Dr. Willott and myself to connect with our professional development opportunities, our curriculum coordinators, and supporting our teacher level staff with implementing services for students. So they may be supporting our special education teachers as well as the supports we have in a general education classroom for our students to access their SPED.
Through teachers.
Absolutely.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about how the Governing Council functions and the SSD Board of Education?
We have a governing council which consists of one member of each of our partner district Board of Education members. So I believe Lynn has sat on the governing council for a while, for a while, and those individuals come together and they make those decisions with regards to approval of our budget, of our goals, and we have specific presentations that are approved by that governing council. And then we also have an SSD Board of Education, which is represented by individuals for each of the sub-districts. And those individuals help us with our Board of Education regulations, et cetera, and make those decisions for us as a board.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Harris. Nice job.
Ms. Carmen.
All right, next up, we have the final agenda item, I believe, for this portion. And could I please have a motion to approve the negotiated agreement between the Rockwood School District and the Rockwood Association of Social Workers?
So
This
moved.
3-year agreement shall be effective July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024.
So move.
Motion and a second. We have Dr. Katie Rebelay here with her crew.
And actually, thank you, and
Yes.
thank you for allowing us to come this evening and present. I am with an unbelievably amazing group of social workers who have truly gone above and beyond in this last, they always go above and beyond, but in these last few long school year, they have truly gone above and beyond. So outside of the agreement, let's give them a big round of applause for just doing amazing things for kids. Erin and I are here this evening actually to present, but I am going to have them introduce themselves because I think it's important that they're recognized for their good work that they've done through the negotiation process, but also for all the wonderful things they've done for kids in Rockwood. And where you are.
Thanks, Katie, and thank you all for being here tonight and recognizing us. I'm Erin Holtz. I was the bargaining chair for the social work team this year. I am the social worker at Crestview Middle School. And, I think we had a lot of really good conversations through the process, and I just want to thank you all again for the district support and the board support of all the work we do and of our department in general. So thank you very much.
My name is Cindy Laudell, and I'm the social worker at Lafayette High School, and also many thanks.
Hi, I'm Jenna Wangren, social worker in the Fenton Elementary Schools. Thank you. Hi, I'm Ashley O'Daniel. I'm the social worker at Rockwood South Middle School. Thank you guys so much.
Hi, I'm Carrie Estes from Missouri NEA. I'm not a social worker, but I support the work of these wonderful people, and they were great to work with through bargaining.
So thank you for that. As you see in front of you, we have a 3-year agreement that we collaborated and came to. It was a wonderful, productive work group. So I thank them for their time. I specifically thank Erin for her leadership and her organization throughout the whole process. So thank you. But like I said, it's a really, we've made great gains over the past few agreements that we've had with the social workers. And I think this really recognizes their hard work and our commitment to what they do. Any questions? Any questions?
Oh, but I just want to say how much our board appreciates each and every one of you. I know in working with Rockwood Gives Back, you guys are our heart and soul, helping our kids and our families. So thank you so much for what you do, because I know it's a job sometimes that people just don't always appreciate you. So I want to let you know how much we appreciate you. We really do.
Any questions or comments anymore? All right, nice work, guys. So the motion is to approve the negotiated agreement between the Rockwood School District and the Rockwood Association of Social Workers. This 3-year agreement shall be effective July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. Thank you. All right, so just to update you all on where we're at in the agenda this evening, as we have shifted a bit. I don't know if that's me or... we are going to move into patron comments now, and we will finish the meeting with superintendent and board comments. Before we begin patron comments, I would like to just read a bit of information that is also on the patron comment cards that have been filled out. Tonight we have 33 patron comments at this time. During patron comments, citizens may address the Board of Education concerning issues related to the school district. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. If multiple citizens are speaking to the same topic, they may combine their comments and the board will extend their time to 5 minutes. Please note that at the board's discretion, the board or superintendent may respond immediately to an issue raised during patron comments for clarification. However, our general practice is to respond to the comment at a later time via a phone call or written message if a response is needed. We have a podium up here with microphones ready so both the board and the audience may hear the patron comments clearly. Board meeting proceedings are also recorded and live streamed this evening on the YouTube channel. We have a clock ready to go, and so our first patron comment this evening is Adam Whittington.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, sir. We have to have masks on for this.
Of course you do. Good evening. Came to talk to y'all. I know it won't have any good. Sat here for several hours. Would love to do other things. Moved to this area. Well, first of all, I want to say the views I express are of my own opinion. I'm not associated with any group. Spoke to y'all back before when you decided it wasn't safe enough to go to school. Begged you to let kids go to school. Begged you to let kids go to school normally. See it on display tonight. A bunch of kids and their awards. They don't get to be celebrated by their peers or their parents. They get you guys clapping to them. They don't know you. So you've already reduced them, knocked down their achievements. Then you promote achievement. For some, you knock down achievement for others. Somehow, some way, an ideology has crept into the school system. You hear about critical race theory and such. And what you all know, I'm not political. I don't care about any politics. You're politicians. You're appointed by politicians. You're open to public scrutiny. We don't have to agree with what you say. We've been reduced to come in and talk to you for 3 minutes while you sit and stare at us. Just because several thousand people elected you to a board, you represent everybody. I send my kids to school for education. I don't send them to get a moral lecture, a political ideology, an evil political ideology. I was taught in public schools the ideology of CRT, which you say you don't do, but it's clearly ingrained in all your teaching, has killed hundreds of millions of people born out of communism. I don't know if communism, what it is, but I was taught by public schools it was evil. You're reducing our kids to classes. You're reducing our kids to races. I seek a medical exemption for a mask for my son. I see what it does. I see what it's doing to kids. I don't care. All kids. It's disgusting. I hear my daughter tell me she has privilege. My daughter knows where I grew up. I tell my daughter how I lived. I moved out here because it was a good school district. That's it, good school district. My daughter's kind of ashamed of who she is. She thinks she needs to seek a class that you've identified as whatever. No one is superior to another. Humans are diverse. Kids can make mistakes. This is not how you connect with community.
Sir, just to clarify, we were not appointed by politicians. We were elected by the patrons of the Rockwood School District. Thank you.
Act as a political body.
Next, we have Rachel Wood.
I actually am representing a group.
That's just if there are multiple patron comments that we would be combining into one. So if they're here, we can do that. Yep.
On May 1st, the RNEA sent a letter to the board asking you to facilitate open dialogue, model civility, and decry personal attacks and threats. Members of the concerned parents of the Rockwood School District wholeheartedly agree with their statement. Apparently, there have been threats made to people of the administration, and it has been an absolute disservice to the people of this district for you to not be transparent about that, because people who had nothing to do with that are now being targeted and receiving death threats for rumors that have not been substantiated. But here are some threats that can be substantiated because I have the screenshots. These are comments from Rockwood employees and parents. It's been a fight all year with this parent group. I know they're employers of all major players, and I think we start emailing and tweeting. We're coming to get people like you, especially considering your husband works with an organization that is supposed to help disadvantaged youth. I think they would like to know what kind of a person they have working for them. You're a racist who should never have children. Oh yeah, and your God is literally sending you.
Please don't use language like
Not
that.
my words.
I understand, but we
Words
don't
of
allow
one of your
it spoken in here. Thank you.
I'll skip that one. These people went further to solicit screenshots and donations to have defamatory TikTok and Twitter videos made about these parents who have never threatened anyone. These videos went viral, have been circulated by teachers, and have been on the RNEA Facebook page. They revealed the target parents' home addresses and have resulted in death threats and have put Rockwood children at risk. Then, apparently, Dr. Miles needed to email that TikToker to thank her. So I ask you, who is harassing whom? In psychology, projection is a coping mechanism used by abusers. The abuser accuses their victim of the exact behavior that the abuser is actually guilty of. But the truth is that this harassment of parents is actually a smokescreen to deflect from the real issues. That the Rockwood administrators have been lying to parents, hiding curriculum, violating federal laws, and ignoring concerns over how current curriculum and policies are harming the mental health of our children. So tonight I formally invite the board to an open and public meeting, a roundtable with our group and state representatives to discuss these issues. We'll be sending an email with the invite coming up soon. But please do heed the RNEA letter and hold the true culprits of harassment accountable and bring unity back to this district.
Next, we have Joanna Boudin.
Evening. I support diversity and inclusion in our schools. I support it for all, equally. I would like to invite the board to a roundtable meeting to discuss issues with the current pilot implementation of the inclusion curriculum in our schools and some ideas that we as parents have. It's clear, as evidenced in Natalie Fellert's email, and specific examples of curriculum that we have documented and reported to the board and school administration as parents. There are disconnects that need to be addressed within this district. Additional parent voices are important in the conversation to restore the trust within our school district that Ms. Shelley Willett expressed that she wants to return. Our family has felt firsthand the impacts of these lessons. I'm sure others have as well. The confusion the cultural identity unit causes for middle school age children when not addressed appropriately, and when parents aren't aware and directly engaged in those conversations, it creates opportunity for greater division. We have seen that. It continues. I was in Rockwood Valley Middle School earlier this week with an incident because of it. Some individuals who work in the district believe that I, as a parent, don't want my children exposed to other perspectives, to diversity in their education. That couldn't be further from the truth. I want to be part of the process so that I can help them understand through my own experiences. Unfortunately, those who do not want to understand or choose to believe otherwise have taken to social media, as Rachel said, in attempts to silence me and harass me. It is my right through FERPA and ESSA to have an equitable seat at the table in my children's education. I believe the manner in which the curriculum is being taught and policies being executed in this school district violates Title VI. I'm asking the board to hold Rockwood employees accountable for the threats and intimidation to parents and their children, curate diversity and inclusion curriculum that does not divide or cause hate and mental health trauma, listen to students who are being harmed by the way the current pilot curriculum is being implemented, and attend a roundtable with parents who disagree with the way in which the current pilot diversity and inclusion curriculum is being implemented. Don't be scared of us. Sit down with us and have a conversation, please. Thank you.
Next, we have Amy Ryan.
Hello everyone, my name is Amy, and I've been a Rockwood parent for 6 years. I have 2 daughters that I love very much, except when they're fighting. Last Friday, I went to a community conversation event about what education should look like in our schools. The controversy seems to center if students should be taught a series of topics like CRT, FAIR, or 1619. It seems to center on the idea that these topics make some students and parents uncomfortable. I understand not wanting to be upset. I don't want to make anyone upset. But I am pushing down my fear, my anxiety, my anger, so I can talk to you tonight. I do this not because I want any children or families to feel uncomfortable, but let's face it, change is hard. It is difficult. When you first see it, it can look and feel like activism. It can look and feel like it's political. I don't think anyone who supports promoting equality in education is trying to indoctrinate children. In order for our children to be ready in the future, they must understand how race fits in our U.S. history and its systemic impact. History is not political. For quite some time, school curriculum has been from one perspective. It's time to give our teachers space to be able to provide the type of curriculum that meets the demands for critical thought and perspective taking. This is a skill our children will need in the future. To deny this, to deny parts of our history, are you going to deny my story, part of that history? I watched a documentary about Annie Davis, a border state slave. She wrote a letter to President Abraham Lincoln. She pushed him to have border states to free the slaves. She is part of our history, just like Abraham Lincoln. So I'm asking you, the board, to give teachers the space to exercise their expertise, the space to give our children to grow and think independently over tough subjects. That is life. That is growing. Sometimes kids will feel uncomfortable, but that is okay. And to the parents here tonight, please give them time. Please give them patience. Let's turn the temperature down. And if this board and teachers don't do that, that are not transparent, then we will come back and discuss it with you here today. Thank you so much.
Next patron comment is Jessica Risenhoover.
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this. I'm sure it's not easy for any of you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for allowing some changes within the curriculum. One of my children is gay, and they said that this year's unit in language arts was the best unit that they've ever had. It was the social justice unit. And my understanding from my child is there were multiple books to choose from. My child obviously chose one that was from the perspective of a gay person. Obviously, not all students had to choose that. You could choose a book that appealed to you. So it was a personal choice what you chose. And she said it was the absolute best unit that she ever had. So I appreciate that this district is allowing all children to see themselves in the curriculum and not just one group of people. And I so appreciate all of you for that. And I would actually like to second what another parent previously said. I absolutely agree with that parent that all of the emails, the harassment emails, the threatening emails, release them. Lots of news here tonight. I'm sure they would love to have all of those. So let's bring all of that out into the light. Where people thought that they were sending those and that they couldn't be found through sunshine laws. Let's release all of that to the public now. And then that way we'll know exactly what's been going on. I think as a community, we deserve to have a better understanding of what our school district has faced this year. So I appreciate your time and hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
just want to make two quick announcements. No, go ahead. Before we move to the next one, the first is to just ask that once you complete your patron comment, if you could please exit the room so that we have room to bring additional patrons in tonight. The second is just a reminder about language going forward. We don't tolerate any kind of language like that. I don't care if it's written and you're reading something. It does not belong in this room. It does not belong on our YouTube channel, and it will not be tolerated, period. So next up, we have Kalia Ashwood.
Hi, my name is Kalia Ashwood, and I'm a student at Eureka High School. I've been a part of the Rockwood School District since I was in kindergarten, and it hasn't been the easiest thing. I've experienced things that I would have never imagined, from just the everyday, oh, you don't have a dad because you're black jokes, to being called the N-word multiple times. There's absolutely no way that I can fit my everyday struggles as a black person, especially in Eureka, in just 3 minutes, but I can always try. That's all I've ever been doing is trying to fit in with all the white kids, try not to take things so serious, try not to be sensitive, and on top of that, trying to start a group at Eureka for black students to just tell their stories and feel safe doing so. I hope that you would take what I've said into consideration and continue to support diversity in Eureka.
Thank you, Kaylee. Next, we have Michelle Becker.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm a parent of 2 children in the Rockwood School District, and it's also my 3rd year teaching in the early childhood program at Rockwood. The past 3 years have been the absolute best years that I have experienced in my 17 years in Missouri Public Schools. To say that I'm happy to work here is an understatement. My children have benefited from the most wonderful teachers and administrators, and I could not be happier with their educational experiences at Rockwood. The past year has been difficult for everyone. COVID has flipped our world upside down, brought an immense amount of challenges that no one could have prepared for. I want to take the time to thank you for all of the very difficult and detailed planning and preparation that took place before this school year began. Even though it has been challenging and scary at times, it has still been a very successful year. We opened early and we stayed open, and that would not have been the outcome if it were not for your strong leadership. I'm also very grateful to the early childhood administrators, Dr. Suzanne Fossage and David Harrod, for their leadership and support. Another factor in this already difficult year has been the negativity of a small and loud group of parents. And as you know, over the past year, teachers and administrators have been harassed, and our incredible district has been placed in a negative spotlight on a national level. The most troubling is the way that our Black administrators and teachers have been targeted the most harshly. I'm not going to repeat what we've already known and what we've already seen, but it is disheartening, to say the least. As an educator, I know that I'm supported in teaching the Rockwood curriculum. Dr. Miles, your email this week was so kind and heartfelt, and I really appreciate your words so much. I'm proud of Rockwood for including DEI components in our curriculum. Although our district is 75% white, it's not a true reflection of the rest of the world. Providing our students with diverse perspectives will better prepare them for the real world when they graduate from our schools. And I applaud all the work that has already been done and what the district has planned for the future. I'm here tonight to ask what we can do as a district, as educators, and as parents to better support our Black administrators, our Black teachers, and most importantly, our Black students at this time. Can we consider including Black teachers, parents, current students, and alumni in conversations to see what problems they currently face in our schools, supports they need right now and long-term, and work collaboratively towards solutions? Would the district consider making a public statement in support of our Black students to let them know they are supported and seen? It's a privilege for a student to enter school spaces and feel safe and comfortable, and I want every student to know that we care about them and support them wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Next, we have Sarah Mcmaster.
Hello, my name is Sarah Mcmaster. I am a parent of a freshman at Eureka. I wanted to start by saying thank you to all of you for your hard work. Dr. Miles, you have to make the hardest decisions, and we appreciate what you've done for us. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to read something from a young lady who's very near and dear to me. Couldn't be here tonight because she's working like she always is when she's not excelling and winning awards on the district level, state level. So I'm going to read you her statement. My name is Morgan Brown, and I'm a senior at Eureka High School. I'm very dedicated to my school. I've been in ETC, choir, and equity for 4 years. I've been a member of NHS and eCrew for 2. I'm invested in my academics, my extracurriculars, and my relationships with teachers and peers. I'm also bisexual. I've been out since I was in the 7th grade, and I have never, not once in the entire history of my life at Rockwood, seen an LGBT person or character featured in my school curriculum. I have lived my life as an outcast in a world of heteronormativity and shame. LGBT history is a crucial part of America, from the Stonewall riots to the AIDS crisis to the Pulse shooting in Orlando. LGBT stories are ingrained into our society the same way Black stories and Black history is, and both subjects are also being ignored in our curriculum. Black students deserve to be seen, heard, and loved. I can only imagine from the struggles I have faced as a white LGBT student how they must feel. I have privilege that allows me to hide my identity and be present as the norm, but Black students don't have that luxury. They are ignored and their history has been whitewashed, and I can only imagine the pain that must cause them each and every day. Students deserve to have their stories told. Students deserve to learn about people who look like them and identify like them. Students deserve to see our history through a lens other than their own. Without diversity and inclusion in our schools, our community will continue to outcast and exclude these stories and the lives of people who look or act differently. We need diversity and inclusion in our schools, or Eureka will fall behind, and not only will minority students continue to feel dismissed and ignored, but every single student will be ill-prepared to enter a world outside of high school where the white narrative is becoming far from the acceptable norm. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to her. Thank you.
Next, we have Teresa Roach.
Hello, my name is Teresa. I am here tonight with the sincerest intention to try and help unite our Rockwood community. I want to be very clear that I am very much in support of a diversity, equity, and inclusion program taught to our children. I think that the problem lies in the fact that we do not have a standardized program that everybody is reading from. So there is a lot of things that are entering the schools that are a surprise to even administrators, definitely parents, and our children as well. Recently, parents in the Rockwood School District have raised concerns over school curriculum, policies, and an increased focus on skin color. A major concern is the pilot inclusion curriculum, which teaches children to judge others by the color of their skin. It also teaches that people are either born an oppressor or oppressed. This is the exact opposite of what an inclusion program should be. When we had hoped these concerns would be met by compassion, instead the responses from some of the school leaders, community members, and educators have been anything but compassionate. I have witnessed people being harassed and berated on social media. I have heard of donations being sent to social media platforms intended to shame parents. I have even witnessed personal information and home addresses being put on social media as a means of harassment, and even attempts made
to have people fired from their places of employment because they had the courage to speak out on something that they thought was not correctly done. When did we turn into a community where we are not allowed to have a conversation or an open dialogue to try and come up with a program that we can all get behind? We are better than this. We are talking about teaching our children about acceptance of human beings, and we are demonstrating the exact opposite of what that message encompasses. What a terrible example we are setting for our children. We must find a way to put our differences aside and come up with a plan that everyone can support. The past year has been so hard for so many, and emotions are running very high. We have become a country that is so divided, and I truly believe that most Americans want to see us unite. Unfortunately, our Rockwood story has made national coverage. But on the other hand, we also have the stage set to be able to demonstrate how we can come together as a community. What better way than to use our school district and our community to show the world how we can finally come back together?
Thank you. Your time is up for the evening. Thank you. Next, we have Amy Krebs.
Hey there, good evening. My name is Amy Krebs, and I'm a parent of 3 boys that attend Rockwood School District. I also attended Rockwood School District growing up. My mother and my sister and I are all educators and teachers, so I love teachers. And I just want to put this out there right now. I am for inclusion and diversity. I worked in the school systems with special needs children from 2000 to 2008. It's CRT that I don't like. So I'm heartbroken, devastated, and disappointed that our district is failing our children. The pilot curriculum this year has only caused division and depression in our community. As Bays and Romberg stated in their forum before the Board of Education election, the equity training, what happened to my microphone? The equity training will be implemented over the next 2 years for the students and teachers. Call it what you want, equity, critical race theory, any educator will call it psychological child abuse. This is why the community found out about Natalie Fowler's email, telling teachers to hide the curriculum. Teachers leaked it to the parents. Any teacher with common sense knows it's poison. Remember the persecution of the Jews in Nazi Germany? A group was demonized, and that's what equity and CRT teaches, to shame a group of people and demonize them. The Nazis, Bolsheviks, Ku Klux Klan, the Maoists, radical Islam, the fascists are all Marxist. Equity, CRT is Marxist as well. It was founded on Marxism. I'm astounded by how uneducated our superintendent, board members, and some curriculum educators are on equity and CRT. To teach our children that the U.S. Constitution was designed by whites to enslave minorities, that modern scientific concepts are tainted by racism, that right math answers are a slight to people of color, and that the classics of Western literature should be replaced by social justice theory is not how most parents think their children ought to be educated. But our district no longer listens to parents. They listen to the political unions. That's where the money is. Rockwood is putting politics and money ahead of our children's needs. What happened to facilitating critical thinking, creativity, and building up a child's self-esteem rather than shaming them over skin color and or socioeconomic backgrounds? Studies have shown those who have been repeatedly shamed for any reason are less likely to possess the risk-taking habits required for adult success. Our children are not your political activist pawns. Your woke-topian agenda that redefines our great nation as a racist empire are lies. Our government, corporations, Hollywood, sports, media are all under attack. Keep the division and enemy of socialism out of our schools. Our children are precious. Then we have Rockwood teachers and parents that are radical political activists. One that was sitting right over there, Jessica in red. They have attacked us, slandered, smeared, harassed anyone that opposes their views, including CRT. Don't laugh, it's not funny. These Rockwood activists paid a TikTok persona in Michigan to attempt at getting my husband fired from his job. Our family received hate mail from all over the U.S.
Time is up for the evening.
I had to file a police report and
Ma'am, your time is up for this evening. Please see the door. Goodbye. There's the door. Thank you. Next comment is Kay Hall.
I've been asked to read a student comment, and it reads, "Hello, members of the Eureka community. My name is Cece, and I am a student who goes to Eureka High. The recent news of the racial issues that have been brought up in the Rockwood School District have caused an uproar in our educational system. As a Black student, it caused my mental health to go down and not have any motivation to come to school anymore. At Eureka, I have never felt welcome there at all. The racial issues may have surprised some people, but not all. This is just what has been made public. My Black friends have said that they do not report any racial issues most of the time because the school would not do anything about it. As I stated in the Bugle, Eureka wouldn't have dealt with the racial issues if it wasn't on the news, which is why the situation is like it is now. Now, the question is, what is critical race theory? It is teaching that racism is integrated into the American government and teaches more African American history while correcting the inaccuracy currently taught. Chatting with another student, Michaela, she states that not only in the government, but in everything, this country is built on the backs of slaves, and it continues to unfairly and disproportionately affect Black people. CRT allows students of color to examine their own racial and ethnic identities and understand the historical circumstances that shape their lives and create the inequities that so many suffer from. Now, given the definition of critical race theory, does it seem like a bad thing? I can see why the Concerned Parents group sees this as a problem. From their perspective, they see it as their white child is privileged and a racist. A quote from the parent of a parent at the Concerned Parents group meeting. Now look at it from a Black student's perspective. I myself see it as correcting the thing that we were taught in history class, a way that we can learn from each other. This can be done with other students of different races and cultures. If we can learn from each other, we can be tolerant. Racism impacts everyone. The racist posts going through social media from students of the Rockwood schools are very disturbing and wrong. You don't have to be Black to be outraged. Wrong is wrong. If more people can point it out and speak up about it, we wouldn't have this big of an issue. Of course, there will be racist people in the world. Can we educate them? Yes. If they don't want to learn, that is on them. How would you feel if you had to go to a place where you didn't feel welcome? It doesn't feel nice, does it? Imagine how BIPOC, that's Black, Indigenous, people of color, students feel. If we can come together as a community and call out racist and wrong things, we can actually be better for every student and member of the community. People shouldn't send death threats to Black staff members or anyone in general in the district. It is outright disgusting. I'm deeply saddened that Brittany Hogan is leaving. She was an inspiration to every Black student in every Rockwood school. Words do have an effect on people. That is why we have to keep diversity, equity, and inclusion a priority, so that students can feel welcomed and safe coming to any Rockwood school. And she signs off, because I will not be silent or silenced.
Next comment is Nicole Arbweda.
Good evening. My name is Nicole. Can you hear me? My name is Nicole Arbweda, and I've never felt it's more important than tonight to present this petition. I'm a parent reading a petition submitted to the Rockwood School Board of Education, created by the parent group Rockwood Racial Equity and Anti-Racism Leadership, or Rockwood REAL. This petition, as of 5 p.m. tonight, has been signed by 1,664 Rockwood School District students, 16 plus, Rockwood School District parents and supporters. Petition to the Rockwood School Board of Education. Keep diversity, equity, and inclusion a priority in the Rockwood School District. Rockwood Board of Education. Rockwood School District is the largest school district in St. Louis County and one of the highest rated. While we respect the top quality education that Rockwood has to offer, we also recognize there are areas in need of progress. As students and families in the Rockwood community, we recognize that the success of each individual student is important to our community, and we should work to create a community where all children are met with empathy and compassion and recognized for their whole selves. We strive to create a community where injustice is recognized and addressed. Through education, awareness, discovery, and discussion, we can create a community where anti-racism is the culture, and to say something in the face of injustice is not the exception, but the norm. As students and families in the Rockwood School District, we believe diversity, equity, and inclusion should be a top priority in our district and request the Board of Education join us in working towards racial equity by committing to the following. Any future Rockwood School District superintendent, whether interim or permanent, support RSD's strategic plan, the way forward, and the beloved community initiative within that commits to keeping DEI a top priority. Fill the position of the Director of Educational Equity and Diversity as close to the outgoing director's date of departure as possible. This position should remain at the level of director or higher. Keep and expand DEI materials and curriculum, create learning opportunities and discussion around race and equity, and increase community engagement around this topic. Support teachers, staff, and administration, both publicly and privately, as they navigate courageous conversations, advocate for students, and bring resources and discussions to the classroom that enhance the educational experience of every Rockwood student. Rockwood School District should be proud of their DEI initiatives and celebrate the work they have done and will continue to do. These items should remain a top priority for our district and will contribute to developing a community where all students feel seen, heard, and valued. Respectfully, students and families of Rockwood School District. Thank you.
Next patron comment is Sloan Cowell.
Hello. I'm reading a letter that my daughter wrote. She is a senior at Eureka High School. Dear board members, after going through almost 13 years in Rockwood, I have received a very insubstantial education on America's past and present racism. My opinions on our history curriculum here in the United States have changed. Now I have learned that there is a harsher underlayer to what I was previously taught. The history curriculum in the Rockwood School District should be updated to include all aspects of American history, not just the dramatization of white people's successes. I would like to bring to light the inadequacies in our education system and curriculum in Rockwood, and I urge you to take a closer look and adapt it to be more factually accurate instead of presenting pro-white America propaganda. Learning about racism and the correct history should start in elementary school because young children are the most impressionable. When it comes to teaching about racism, we always seem to tiptoe around those who participated and the actions it has caused people of color. A lot of people's perspectives on history are shaped when they first learn about slavery, race, and Jim Crow laws because it is taught at a very influential age. The elementary curriculum should change how it teaches about certain historical figures and events, because if it doesn't, impressionable children will form warped visions of America's past. This section of history in 8th grade is one of the most misrepresented pieces of history in our education system. When learning about slavery, we only learn that it is bad, but by the time we're in 8th grade, we are ready for more mature conversations about slavery and the racism embedded in the system. Instead of repeating what we had learned before middle school, we could instead teach about the struggles of people of color, especially those that Black Americans had to endure during America's cruel episode of slavery. While rewriting this, we could further amplify that the people in power were actively working to keep non-whites down. In high school, we learn about American history freshman year. There is a lack in what happened in the civil rights movement, and not so much on the subject of slavery. And in this class, we could look at what was wrong with Jim Crow laws and segregation, and how systematically those affect Black people then and now. The first class I was able to finally learn about how some public figures were racist was in AP US history. To me, it is tragic that one must take an AP class to learn the truth. To finally learn about certain things in history as a senior out of all my years in the district shows the underlying systemic racism and whitewashing in the district. Thank you.
Next, we have Sarah Simpson. Nope. Okay. Then we have Stephanie Busher.
Hello, I'm a Eureka resident and a former Rockwood School District teacher. I'm here tonight to do my best to provide a teacher's perspective to the community. I feel the need to do this right now because there's so many teachers that don't feel comfortable speaking out because they're contracted. I wanted to first recognize that the board members and the administrators in this room, they don't need this perspective because they're a part of the day-to-day operations. So really, this is for anyone who's listening that doesn't have this insight. I also want to state that I'm in no way speaking for all teachers. This is just my perspective. And really, perspective is what this situation is about. I feel like it's fair to say that most adults in our Rockwood communities recognize that teachers commonly go into education because they want to make a positive impact on students' lives. However, some may not fully grasp the groundwork that goes into building those relationships. Teachers work hard every single day to find ways to connect with the students, provide empathy for them when things are rough, and to champion for them even when they're long out of the classrooms. The current culture that's being created by some very vocal community members is not conducive for our amazing Rockwood teachers. It does not allow them to be everything that they can be in their classrooms or on Zooms. It appears that these stakeholders truly have their children's interests in mind and at the forefront of their actions. However, there's a strong misunderstanding of the goal to create learners that can think critically and creatively. And this misunderstanding has led to a dialogue that is harmful for everyone, and especially our students. So I'm here to ask the community members that do not value all perspectives and all facts about our nation's history to take a deeper look and to do so with an open mind so that all of the students can have representation in their schools and have an opportunity to make those important connections. And I'm here to ask the board, current administrators, and future administrators to continue to work hard to develop and implement the diversity and equity goals for the district, despite all of the tremendous unnecessary and unnecessary challenges that you face. Thank you for your time.
Next is Danielle Johnson.
Hello, I'm a former student. My son went to Eureka. I got a daughter that goes to Eureka Elementary, and I want to tell you all about a school assignment that my 5th grade daughter came home with from Eureka Elementary. The school assignment was from social studies, and it was an assignment on slavery. And I can't remember exactly the names, but I'm gonna say John. He was a white man, and they showed a picture of him, and John could have whatever job he liked, and John could live wherever he liked. And the homework assignment asked my daughter to tell the teacher which job she would have liked to be in if she was a slave. She couldn't be John, she not white, so she would have had to been a slave. She came in the room and was like, "Mom, I don't understand this homework assignment." So I read it, and I was pissed. Because why is it okay for her to endure whatever the situation is, whatever it is, as far as she could go and learn about slavery, but y'all don't want y'all kids to know anything about it. She could pick out which job she want to be as a slave, but y'all don't want y'all kids to know that y'all privileged. I'm not understanding. How is it that she could do this classroom assignment and pick a slave job? I was pissed. How is she even doing this classroom assignment? Why is she picking out what job she want to be as a slave? She 10 years old. We need to have this discussion. This needs to happen. I'm trying to figure out how y'all had a meeting. It was a meeting I was trying to figure out how I was not invited to, but it wasn't the Rockwood School District meeting. It's all over the news about people not being racist. If you can't have a conversation about what's going on and you don't want your kids to know about it, why are y'all hiding it from y'all kids? But my baby can endure it. She has been the only Black kid in her classroom for 3 years. And her teacher gave her a classroom assignment on which job she wanted to be as a slave. And that's okay. Thank you.
Next comment is from Kama Brown.
Smiling under the mask. Hi. Oh, just start? Okay. I want to speak to an assignment that was posted last week on social media. The assignment was taken out of context and it was used to justify attacking a teacher for having a political agenda. The reason I know that is because the assignment was taken out of context is because that classroom was my child's classroom and the teacher who gave that assignment was my child's teacher. The resource was a worksheet from Teach Rock, a standards-aligned resource that uses pop culture to engage with students. The worksheet was part of a language arts unit discussing the use of tone and vocabulary and how these things can affect our emotions when reading written expression. Multiple worksheets expressing different opinions were used over the course of a few weeks while teaching this lesson. The teacher asked the kids to highlight any words that seem to evoke emotions and just discuss together how people use words and language to create emotional writing. The last chapter of the district's Chosen One reads Stamped is about the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement. This worksheet was a tie-in to the last chapter. The teacher chose this worksheet in order to tie the unit together as part of the broader discussion in the district. My child was allowed to bring the worksheets home and it was not hidden. To find this information out, I simply called my child's teacher and I asked her what the purpose of the assignment was, and I asked her if she made space for all the children to come away from the lesson with different opinions, or if the children were forced to have one opinion. I also sat down and I asked my children this. In regards to one's parent concern, the principal let us know that this was not an approved resource. Teachers have always been encouraged to gather resources to accommodate the diversity and learning styles in their classrooms. Since September, I and many other parents have expressed at our PTO meetings that we wanted our kids to engage in these conversations. We asked that current events be brought into the classroom because we know that retention is higher when knowledge retention is higher when information is relevant. The teacher is our PTO chair, and we actively asked her to bring these resources in. But now it seems like when we have asked for is being undone by the complaint of one parent. If the policy is to encourage teachers to have courageous conversations, why does this teacher not have public support from the district for doing this? Giving our kids the tools they need to disagree, to have conversations, to find solutions, to be critical of written expression, to find facts among opinions, to expand knowledge beyond the classroom. This is what we ask of our teachers. This is what we ask of our principals and of our administrators. So my question to the board is, why isn't this resource being approved?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next patron is Christy Horton.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, I think most of you know me, but my name is Christy Horton. I am a parent of 2 high schoolers at Rockwood Summit. Thank you for allowing me to share here today. As you know, kids in our school district are hurting. Families are hurting. Staff is hurting. Students, families, and staff of color need us to say, this is not okay. We need to listen to each other's pain. We need to hear each other's experiences. And it is never our job to invalidate the pain or experience of others. People, good people, are leaving the district this year. Resignations, harassments, vitriol, threats, and lies. None of it is okay. I think we can all agree it's not okay. Dr. Miles, thank you for your integrity and your care of the children. I know you care about all the kids. I hate we are losing you, but I understand why. and we wish nothing but the best for you. My hope for the community when this is all over is that we come out of it better. We are now in that pain and heartache part. I hope we get to the rebuilding part. But this time, let us be better, because we now know what's festering underneath the surface. Let us do the hard work. Let us have the courageous conversations. Let us lean into the discomfort. That is where all the growth occurs. Let us swallow our pride and practice humility. If we do that, we're going to come out better people, and we're going to be a stronger community. Thank you.
Next patron is Bill Brown.
Let me begin by saying I love Rockwood. Someone told me I am the only person to go from 1st to 12th grade in Rockwood, teach in Rockwood for over 20 years, and then serve on the Board of Education. I hope these remarks convey where my heart is coming from. I owe Rockwood more than I can ever repay. My happiness in life has its roots in the education I received here. The happiness and success of my 4 children are a direct result of their Rockwood education. How does one put a price tag on that? Rockwood is at a crossroads. I witnessed that here tonight, inside and outside of this building. I wish I had an easy solution to heal these problems. My greatest fear is that the current wounds are too deep for healing. I see people with anger in their eyes and hurtfulness in their actions. The greatest part of my education here was that I was taught to think, not what to think. I was exposed to a wide variety of facts. More importantly, I was taught how to analyze and study those facts to form the beliefs I have today. I was taught empathy and respect, both at home and at school. School and home did not always agree, but they always respected each other. I would like to think our present predicament is a positive result of our diversity. In my opinion, the issues that divide us are not new. It is our behavior and approach to solving these problems that seems to be what is lacking. Most everyone wants to be speaking and accusatory. Not very many seem willing to listen and work toward a solution. We need compromise more than ever. For every parent or family that does not want something taught, there's a parent or family that does want that same thing taught. What is the solution? I taught sociology here in Rockwood for many years. Sociology is the science of human relationship. Rockwood as a district is about to take the all-important final exam for my class. How do we all get along? I want to apologize to you, Dr. Miles. People that I know and respect tell me you're a good man. What this board, what this superintendent, and what these teachers have had to go through is not the Rockwood that I grew up in, and I'm sorry for that. Thank you. Now give me my cap back.
Did you forget it?
Next patron is Becky Heine.
Wish I had Mr. Brown's speech. That was good. I'm a parent of a freshman and a senior that go to Eureka High School. I stand before you today in support of the Rockwood administration, the school board, and the staff. I stand in support of a robust diversity, equity, and inclusivity education. I strongly support your strategic plan known as the Way Forward, and particularly support the beloved community initiative within that plan that keeps diversity, equity, and inclusivity a priority in this school district. I will never stand for hatred, bigotry, censorship, or imposing my personal or religious beliefs in a taxpayer-funded public school for all. I grew up in Sullivan, Missouri, and I am a proud Sullivan Eagle. Dr. Kinder was my principal. I love so much about my upbringing and the town I grew up in, and it is a wonderful town, but it is not known for its diversity. It is actually known for being a sundown town. Around 1986, a Black family was ejected from our local pizza place for eating pizza while Black. I was 19 years old before I ever even spoke to someone who was Black. That lack of diversity hurt me, and back in the 80s, this is not something that was a prime focus in education. I had a steep learning curve as I came into adulthood. I believe having a DEI component in my early education would have helped me. Life also blessed me with a beloved gay cousin and a gay nephew, and that gave me a front row seat to seeing the injustice, hatred, and bullying that these two men have faced. They had loving families, but many do not, and many commit suicide as teenagers. Shouldn't a public school be a safe and inclusive place for all, including our LGBT friends? We chose Eureka because it seemed to have all the wonderful aspects of my small town upbringing, minus the sundown town reputation, plus Rockwood's excellence. I haven't really ever regretted that choice, but now I start to wonder. This hateful rhetoric is hurting our reputation nationally. It affects my children. It affects all of our children. And what teacher would choose to teach in a place where they're bullied and harassed for tackling difficult topics? I'm not going to talk about theories and buzzwords from podcasts. I'm going to just share a sentence from my own history. My 8th great grandfather, Ralph Blankenship, was an indentured servant, and I'm reading words from the historical document. On 1 April 1690, Mr. Richard Kennan of Henrico County came into court and made application for a patent of 8,000 acres for importing 90 people and 70 Negroes. Those words hurt me to say. Now, Richard Blankenship became a landowner. The Black people who came with him did not, and Richard's grandchildren eventually owned slaves. That was because of the privilege of his skin, because he was white, and I share that privilege.
Next patron is Terry Deloge.
I want to first acknowledge all of those amazing students that won awards tonight. And I think it's time that we spend just a moment and focus on the positive things that are happening. And to know that those amazing students are looking at us right now. They're looking at you board members. And as you know, I ran for a seat on the board. And I did it because I wanted to be a voice for the parents. And so I think that this is a great time that we are hearing the voice of the parents. But I think it's important that your actions and my actions, as you know, they speak louder than words. And tonight, as we're talking about, equity and inclusion, there's a big, huge omission, and that's the children and teens with IEPs. Our students with IEPs are serviced by SSD, but they are Rockwood students first. They are Rockwood students first. When is the equity and inclusion for our special education students and their siblings and their families, when is that discussion going to begin? We have a director of diversity and inclusion, and when have I ever heard him say anything about the special education students or families? And unless you've been a family in Rockwood School District, you don't know how it feels not to be included as a family. Do you know, and I'm just asking this, do you know how many of our students in Rockwood School District receive special services? It's over 3,100. And that's not only 3,100 students, but that's siblings that are in the Rockwood School District. And our students with IEPs, I say it again, they're serviced by SSD. the SSD teachers, but the Rockwood students first. And our Rockwood School District curriculum, you know, the programs, and I am so supportive of all of our diversity and equity programs. I love the fact that we have multicultural literature classes. I love the fact that we have the diverse read aloud programs. I love the fact on the elementary level we have Read Like Me. But I have not heard anything about implementing an empathy and compassion literature class for siblings who have special needs siblings. Do you know the stress that they go through when they walk into those hallways? I haven't heard anything about Diverse Abilities Read Aloud program. I haven't heard anything Interact Like Me. You know, have we ever considered a District 1 read? Your students, my students, our students? And why I support this discussion, and again, there's times we have to agree to disagree. That goes too fast.
Next patron is Justin Dixon.
I'm here tonight to first offer my thanks and appreciation to all the teachers who've worked their tails off this year to make sure every student has the chance to learn under these difficult conditions. I'm so thankful that Rockwood's teachers have worked hard to include diverse perspectives and texts. My children, Miles and Lila, attend school at Blevins, and I could not be happier with the education they're receiving. What I'm concerned about is the behavior of some of the parents in this community, particularly their treatment of Miss Natalie Fallert. I've not met Miss Fallert personally, but I read the leaked email she sent to the language arts faculty. Some in this community and nationwide have tried to turn this into a conspiracy or question her credibility. I've heard rumors that she was forced to resign. I don't know if that's true. Even the statement that this district put out implied that she did something wrong by working to protect her teachers from unreasonable and uninformed parents. And that was really sad. Our teachers are what make this district great. I'll say it again, our teachers are what make this district great. We have great teachers in this district. My children have been blessed with excellent teachers. There is no excuse for the treatment that they've received at the hands of the vocal minority of parents. Natalie Fallert did what every district official should do. She stood up for the teachers and for the DEI curriculum in the best way she could. I would hope that instead of throwing her under the bus, more Rockwood administrators would stand up for the teachers and for the curriculum. If you don't, you won't have either for long. A parent just a moment ago mentioned how many people are leaving the district. You know, there's a reason for that. The reputation of this fine district is at stake. Please don't risk it by giving in to the demands of a tiny faction of loud racists. Thank you.
Next patron is Chris Beaton.
I don't believe that patron is here anymore.
Okay. Rachel Pereira.
Tonight, I'm going to amplify and quote the work of student journalist Lauren Pickett, a senior at Marquette High for Marquette Messenger. She is a brilliant journalist, and I wanted to share some of her recent in-depth reporting on student perspectives. Missouri is one of the several states that does not directly mention the civil rights movement, white supremacy, or cite slavery as the central cause of the Civil War in the state's 6th to 12th grade social studies standards for grade level expectations. The only reference to Black people is to trace the development of African American culture in non-slave states and in the context of slavery for the 6th to 8th grade U.S. history classes, according to Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Rockwood recently this year has adopted a new Black literature class offered in high school for juniors and seniors. It was partly developed, it was one of the main initiatives by Brittany Hogan. Here are some student opinions in relation to diversity reflected in curriculum. Myla Childs, senior, said, "History classes repeat the same stories, hoping students will just take them and move on. History classes treat African American history like an untouchable moment in the past and like it's something they'd rather forget than learn from. She said students in Black literature freely discuss modern or historical topics such as Black Lives Matter and Black Power movements and messages from Maya Angelou. Childs began to feel a deeper connection to the class, which she said gave life and added importance to her high school experience. We don't only shine a fading light on the accomplishments of the Black race in America, we shine a blazing light on all Black accomplishments everywhere, Childs said. Tyler Ray, Sr., said students should learn more about how different races and ethnicities experienced American history rather than predominantly white, affluent vantage point. Without open discussions about racial issues, he said white people won't realize being racist can be direct and indirect. In Black literature, students discuss systemic racism and intersectionality, or where marginalized people experience multiple forms of discrimination. Jordan King, Sr., we can't go into class with a heavy heart because what goes on outside of school affects you tremendously. She said, if we can't feel safe inside our house while we're at school or talk about how we feel, we cannot feel whole. She said the diverse perspectives from her peers created well-balanced, in-depth discussions beyond assigned novels. But she wondered why the class needed to exist. She questioned why the history of other races wasn't isolated to an elective class for upperclassmen. Brittany Hogan, who helped create the Black Lit class, said, we cannot just teach the white side of history because we have to show all people who created history. We have to talk about trailblazers who have in Black, Latinx, and Asian culture. Oppression has been a huge part of Black people being in this country, and that is not at all our story.
Thank you. Your time is also up. Katie Peebler is next.
I am speaking to you from two perspectives. First, I am a Rockwood alumni. Dr. Kinder was also my principal. The teacher that made the most profound impact on my education was just here speaking tonight as well, Mr. Bo Brown. When in his classroom at Eureka High School over 20 years ago, I learned to think for myself, to search out diverse perspectives, ideas, and theories. Now I'm a mother with my own children attending Rockwood. The people opposing a well-rounded, diverse education are not the majority of parents in this district. Please continue to provide our children with an education that includes multiple perspectives. This will only serve to equip our children with the education necessary to be the kind of adults our community needs. Thank you.
I apologize. I don't know if I can read this one. I think it's Dondi. Am I getting this right? I'm sorry. Please introduce yourself when you arrive. Thank you.
My name is Dondi Ganev. As an educator, I come to you this evening in support of the diversity curriculum, and this is why. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong? I think it is safe to say we all have at some point in our lives. Try to draw on that memory and remember how you felt deep inside. From my own experience, I remember not feeling very good about myself. Everyone wants to feel like they belong and like they matter because everyone certainly does. We are all God's children. We all bring beautiful gifts to this world because we are all different. Those differences should be celebrated. But how can they be celebrated if we don't understand our differences? I come to you this evening in honor of all my students who come from many different backgrounds. Many of their struggles come from not loving themselves and not feeling worthy because hate has been projected on them for too long. I want the world to be a place where my students can hold their head high and feel truly wanted and loved for who they are because that is exactly how they make me feel. They are forever my family. I want my own children to be taught about different cultures and to have a deeper understanding of the struggles of others. By teaching diversity, this increases cultural competency, which in turn allows our children to be empathetic to the experiences of others. I teach this to my own children all the time, but school is at the heart of our society. Our kids look to not only their parents, but to their teachers also to guide them in their lives. Our children come to school not just to learn about science and math. They come to school for positive experiences and connections. They want to feel like they belong somewhere. Think about the wires of any type of machinery. If one wire is broken or damaged in some way, then the machine doesn't work properly. We are all wires within a special system connected to each other in this universe. It is important to remember that we all belong to each other. If we don't take the time to learn about others, how will we ever understand ourselves? Thank you.
Thank you, Dondi. Ashley Culpepper. Not here. Christy McLean. Sherma Reese. Sorry, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shamir Reese, and I've had the opportunity to be a part of this district for 15 plus years. I have two sons who have graduated from Lafayette High. I have two that attend Babbler at the moment and one that attends Rockwood Valley. Me standing in this room right now at this moment, I'm heavy. And if this behavior of the community is infiltrating our schools, I can only imagine the heaviness that each of our students are taking on every day when they come into school. And school should be a safe place where they can come, learn, be vulnerable, and grow and learn from each other. I support the diversity that the district is implementing. It's sad to say that over the last 15 years, I have seen a decrease in the student population when it comes to diversity, but there has been an increase in the administration. But to just look around this room and to be a person of color, it took so much bravery for me to stand here, not only to advocate for my children, but also as a part of Rockwood Real and taking the initiative to be a co-president so that I can be effective in this community as well, to be a part of the diverse change that I want to see as my children continue their education here. I have friends that have come in support that look like me, because we also have children here. Some of our kids get on the bus and they ride 90 minutes one way. That's heavy enough. They leave broken homes. They leave broken communities. And to come into another broken community is so unfair. They need to walk in school buildings and see people that look like them. They need to be able to have a safe place, a safe person where they can go and be themselves and express themselves. The brokenness that I see on the parking lot today, the brokenness that's even in this room, we go home and we indirectly teach our children this same brokenness. And this is a vicious cycle that has to stop. If we don't acknowledge the past, we cannot correct the future. And that's all I have to say.
Deb Michaels.
A lot of emotion attached to this topic, and I get it. And it's been really hard all around. I think all sides have a lot of hateful things to say or hateful reactions. So what I'm hoping to do with my comment is talk more from the perspective of information. It may not be information that we like, but we've got to start from a place of more factual than emotion. Missouri is one of 12 states that have either already banned or are working on banning critical race theory language in classrooms. This is not banning history or Black history. This gets to the how. This gets to language that has been upsetting across the country for students and parents. I know the district has said it doesn't include critical race theory in its curriculum, but please understand the ideology and the language under that umbrella is there.
It's in critical race theory inspired materials that were approved in the curriculum, such as an intersectionality video that I'll talk more about in a second. It's also been in materials that were not approved in the curriculum. So even if you don't use the name critical race theory, words like equity, intersectionality, and privilege all get wrapped up in that. And it makes people uncomfortable. Not that being uncomfortable is a bad thing, but we just have got to get to the heart of it so that we can move forward and grow. Critical race theory inherently paints groups of people by race as though they are automatically oppressed or oppressors. It's a focus on race, and it views every interaction between people through that lens. So that's why you're hearing so much negativity about that. Ninth graders in Rockwood, as you know, are going through this right now in their language arts classes in a unit called Cultural Identity. The video that I'm talking about is one that parents complained about, and I'm so thankful that the district listened and has decided to discontinue using it. It's called Intersectionality 101. It teaches different parts of our identity that they intertwine to shape our experiences. And that's so true, right? That sounds great. But then in the video, it goes on to show people of color and says they're discriminated against. And then it shows a white girl and calls her affluent and says she doesn't have to worry about intersectionality because of her privilege. I was so sad when I saw that. It just perpetuates stereotypes and teaches our kids that the color of their skin determines their destiny as oppressed or not. And personally, I think that's terrible for all kids. I don't want any lesson material that sends the message, if you're Black, you're oppressed, and if you're white, you're an oppressor. I want our kids to have messages of hope. I want them to be taught how to think and not told what to think. I have a lot more to say, but I'm out of time. But please consider this is not about the what, it's about the how. And when parents mentioned having the roundtable discussion, I would love for us all to participate in that. Thank you.
Next patron comment is Weston Eli? Okay, I apologize.
Weston Ely, thank you for being here tonight and spending this time. I want to start by appreciating the teachers. Apparently that's a thing we're doing this week. I don't know if you felt that tonight, but I do appreciate all the work that is done to teach my kid to hate racism. And for all the work that you guys have done to do that, I really do appreciate that. I got a story from just this week where one of my daughters came home and told me she saw some kids that were impersonating another race, and she called them racist a-holes. I thank you for teaching the hatred of racism. I'll take credit for the a-hole comment. You don't have to worry about that. But I do appreciate all the work. And if I didn't feel like the teachers and the staff and the administration were, if I didn't feel like they were against racism, I would probably be here with a different banner, with a different sign, with a different message tonight. And I'd be a lot more critical. But what I want to do is really talk about the dangers of critical theory. You can have critical anything, critical race, critical gender, critical. You could apply a critical theory to anything. I've been studying this for 5 years. I have a couple masters, humble brag, not so humble brag, but I have studied this. I've put time into this, and what I have found is that what equity is searching for is to drive toward equal outcome. In any system that is driving towards equal outcome can lead to some unintended consequences that I hope everybody in this room strongly considers. For instance, we would never consider how unjust the society is because 94% of our prison population is male. We would never teach in our curriculum that that society is against maleness because women graduate with more undergraduate degrees. Men die at a higher rate at workplace, higher suicide rates. But we would never call that an injustice of our society. It'd be ludicrous to even think that. And what I hope this administration does, and as we consider critical theory, that we consider what are the unintended consequences that we're teaching our kids. I applaud you for hating racism. And I applaud you for teaching my kids to hate racism. And I just want to encourage during this time that we consider what are some of the unintended consequences and how can we include all of our children to hate racism as well. Thank you.
Next comment is Danielle Meert.
Hello, I'm Danielle Meert, and I'm here tonight to thank the school board for making diversity initiatives a priority within Rockwood School District. The last 2 years, my kiddo has testified in Jefferson City in opposition to discriminatory legislation that would make his healthcare illegal, ban his participation in youth sports. And last year, while in 7th grade, Miles testified in opposition to HB 1565, the Don't Say Gay bill, that would eliminate LGBTQ folks from the curriculum in Missouri. To be certain, my kiddo exists outside of health class, and like all students, he deserves representation in the curriculum. And we are thankful that Rockwood provides an affirming and accepting academic environment when we are within the district. Personally, I would like to see more diverse administrators, teachers, staff, clubs, and curriculum. And Dr. Miles, I'm really sorry to see you go. My family was looking forward to working with you to further Rockwood's diversity initiatives. And we wish you were leaving under different circumstances, but nonetheless, enjoy your retirement. And we look forward to working with everybody else. So thank you so much and have a great evening.
Okay, final patron comment is not here any longer. So that concludes patron comments for this evening. Now we will move into superintendent and board comments. Dr. Miles.
I certainly typically have a script, and I'll get into that in just a moment. I just want to say thanks for the variety of perspectives shared this evening. We have much work left to do. And I think something that remains so important in our nation, in our state, and in our community is the ability and the willingness to fully consider the perspective of another. I think that remains so important wherever we are, whatever role that we have within the district. So just wanted to provide those comments before I got into my script. So some announcements this evening. The Board of Education approved 2 new additions to our district administrative team. Ms. Shannon Smith as the new administrative intern at Eureka Elementary, and Dr. Loretta Dunkman as the new early childhood coordinator for special education processes and diagnostics. Shannon replaces Corey Luchek, who was recently named the principal at Eureka Elementary School. And Loretta replaces Kristen Clemens, who resigned last year. Both of them will begin their new positions on July 1st. Currently, Shannon teaches 5th grade at Stanton Elementary, where she has taught since 2009. She's a national board certified teacher and was named Stanton's Teacher of the Year in 2015. Over the past 2 summers, she has served as an assistant principal for Rockwood Summer Academy. She's earned a Bachelor of Science in Education from the University of Central Missouri, as well as a Master of Arts in Gifted Education and a Master of Arts in School Administration from Lindenwood University. Loretta currently serves as the Early Childhood Special Education Process Coordinator, Diagnostic Speech Language Pathologist in the Orchard Farm School District, a position she has held since 2016. Prior to that, she worked as a speech language pathologist in the Fort Zumwalt School District. She's earned a Bachelor of Science in Speech Language Pathology and a Master of Speech in Speech Language Pathology from Fontbonne University. She also earned a Master of Arts in School Administration and an Educational Doctorate in Education from Maryville University. Both Shannon and Loretta are in attendance this evening, so please help me congratulate them on their new positions in Rockwood. Moving on, Eureka High School social studies teacher Lauren Schellhorn has been named the 2021-2022 Rockwood School District Teacher of the Year. Lauren has taught history at Eureka since 2009. She earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Missouri St. Louis and her master's degree from Webster University. As a teacher, coach, and mentor, Lauren believes that relationships are the key to success in any educational environment. As the District Teacher of the Year, Lauren is now eligible to participate at the regional and state level in the Missouri Teacher of the Year program, which is conducted annually by the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. We want to congratulate Lauren. She is a wonderful teacher and a terrific representative of the kind, caring, dedicated teachers we enjoy in the Rockwood School District. All 4 high schools in the Rockwood School District are ranked among the top 20 in Missouri and the top 10% of all public high schools in the country, according to U.S. News and World Report's 2021 Best High Schools list. Eureka, Lafayette, Marquette, and Rockwood Summit are all ranked within the top 5% of nearly 500 high schools in the state and within the top 1,640 nationally of the nearly 18,000 high schools surveyed by U.S. News and World Report. All 4 Rockwood high schools also ranked in the top 10 in the state and the top 8% nationally in U.S. News and World Report's College Readiness Index. And Lafayette is also one of only 2 high schools in Missouri and 250 in the nation that the publication included on its list of best STEM high schools. I'd like to commend the students, staff members, parents, and the entire school communities at Eureka, Lafayette, Marquette, and Rockwood Summit for continuing to make our high schools exemplary places for learning. Finally, tonight, I'd like to share with you a video that premiered at the 32nd Annual Rose Award Ceremony, which was held Sunday at Lafayette High School. Rockwood Board of Education members, district administrators, teachers, staff members, and their families came together to honor those who show their dedication and commitment to serving children and families of the Rockwood School District. The Rose Award is bestowed upon individuals who show excellence of character, performance, leadership, and service to Rockwood. Each year, Rockwood honors 15 individuals for their contributions to our schools with a Rose Award, and this video pays tribute to this year's recipients. Let's watch.
When we all went remote, we tried to bring the office home with us.
You make the difference. I am just trying to help provide resources. You took care of my son like no one else. You taught me so many things. You made me a better parent. And I thank you for that. And I know you do such a great job of helping so many other parents and children. And I thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Congratulations to all of our Rose Award recipients, past and present. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Miles. I would like to read a couple of things this evening. The first is an announcement that the board is proud to present to you all. I will read it now. I am very pleased to announce this evening that the board has hired Dr. Timothy Ricker as interim superintendent of the Rockwood School District. Dr. Ricker has worked in education for 45 years. He currently serves as the State Supervisor of Instruction for the St. Louis Metropolitan Region and the Southeast Region at the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. He has worked for DESE since 2012, and prior to that, he served as superintendent of the Lamont-Brombrick Central School District in Illinois from 2006 to 2011, and superintendent of the Melville School District from 2003 to 2006. Additionally, he has served as the South Area Superintendent for Melville and the Deputy Superintendent and Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction for the Francis Howell School District. Dr. Ricker holds a doctorate degree from Southern Illinois University and an educational specialist degree from Central Missouri State University, as well as a master's degree from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and a bachelor's degree from Northeast Missouri State University. Dr. Ricker will be a tremendous asset to Rockwood during this transitional year. He has a wealth of experience, has ties to our community, and he is highly regarded as a strong educational leader. He is dedicated to student success and believes that student potential is unlimited and that learning is a lifelong endeavor. We are extremely fortunate to have someone with his experience and knowledge of the Rockwood community during this critical transitional year. Now I'd like to read a statement on behalf of the Board of Education. We would like to begin with a sincere thank you to our teachers, administrators, and support staff for continuing to love, nurture, and educate our children despite the noise and challenges of the 2020-21 school year. We want you to know that we support you and appreciate all that you do for our students. This year, our district and our staff have been the subject of sometimes hateful and certainly hurtful social media posts, emails, and voicemails. This is not acceptable. Harassment in any form is not acceptable. Racism in any form is not acceptable. It is an embarrassment and it does not reflect who we are as a district. We call on all stakeholders, parents, community members, staff, and students to stop spreading hate and shame. Help us build our beloved community where everyone belongs and feels safe. We implore you to think about what you say, what you post, what you write in an email. Listen to understand and consider the perspectives of others. Form a positive relationship with your child's teacher and administrator in a supportive and gracious manner. Develop trust so that you can have respectful conversations when you have a concern or a question related to your child's education. We want to be very clear. The Rockwood School District is not teaching critical race theory. We are committed to providing an equitable, welcoming, and safe learning environment for all students as outlined in the way forward. We value and embrace diversity and want our students to consider various perspectives. Engaging in respectful conversations about how people think and view things differently is what helps develop students as critical thinkers and problem solvers. When we developed the way forward, you told us that you wanted students to think globally, learn to be problem solvers, collaborate with others, and engage thoughtfully and respectfully. As adults, we should be modeling those behaviors for our students.
We have 4 weeks remaining in the school year. Let's fill these weeks with positive celebrations for our students and our staff achievements.
So much to celebrate this year, despite the pandemic, and we want to focus on our students and staff as we move forward.
While we do not have all the answers, we are confident that if we act with grace, love, compassion, and empathy, and listen with open hearts and minds, we can make positive change throughout our schools and communities.
In 2019, we signed a proclamation pertaining to anti-bullying in support of our anti-bullying program in Rockwood.
2020, we signed a resolution acknowledging and affirming our dedication and commitment to universal equity, opportunity, and access in the Rockwood School District.
Believe that the district's work can only be realized by ensuring that teachers, administrators, support staff, students, parents, and community members organize in unity to collectively continue to implement the district's mission.
Amy Bays.
Immediate.
I'm done.
Kinder.
Randall Miller.
Laura Lee Mondel.
Amy Romberg.
Final agenda item tonight is, there's 2 more. The proposed agenda for the May 20th, 21 Board of Education meeting. Everybody can see this. If anyone has anything to add or change, just let us know. All right. And then finally, we have future agenda presentations and events to attend. Looking through May, we get busy with more celebrations. So we will be celebrating our seniors through their parades and their graduation ceremonies. And we have a couple of other optional PLC things on our calendars as well. All right, at this time, thank you all for being here this evening, and we will adjourn the meeting.